Welcome back. The skies today says it's a bit overcast. It's pissing down with rain the past couple of days. It's good because it's soaked the garden, so rainwater, I think the garden prefers that. I think the plants perform a bit better. But so far, I can see some swifts in the sky. That's quite nice to see. But in regards of the clouds, it's a bit overcast. A typical British day. This is going to be a very quick video. As you can see from the time lapse, if I just go forward and show you, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. But what I like to show you at the moment is this white haze. I keep saying white haze, like this white mass here. Remember what I was saying, look, it is a natural cloud. And one aspect of what I do is I pick part of the cloud where I know what the chemtrail community say about what is man-made or what's unusual. And I'll pick the portion of the sky. Now this is a typical example. Hopefully the sun is not ruining the shot. But you can see here, that's a trail, okay? Very, very faint. So I take this portion of the sky and I go, right, okay, what can I see that is more or less like natural? So what I do, I go and grab a book, my old book, and I'm trying to figure out what's clouds that are supposedly man-made, or what clouds are in the wake of this trail, and then try and make a realistic conclusion. So like I said, I'm not going saying, oh, that's been sprayed on purpose. Well, it's just one trail, it's not doing anything, you know. But it's this white mass haze blanket, what veil one would say. And what this veil is actually doing, is it something to do with the spraying of the skies? And I say, well, we've got some cumulus. And I swing the camera around, we've got some more cumulus, and we've got some cirrus as well. Now this cirrus, is some photographs of cirrus. Very, very high altitude. I keep talking about this because people misconcept this as being chemtrails being spread out. And it really ain't, it's just a natural cloud, okay? But it does give off this like striking whisper effect, and it's all contextualized. It's actually quite striking, really. So at the moment, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The sun's still shining. I've got my sunglasses on. It's not necessarily dimming the temperature, but nevertheless, I thought I'd just show you that first of all, okay? So the only trail we got is that little thing there. That little thing. There we go. It's starting to clear up now. Wow, I guess. Very cool. Sun shining. And that's cirrus, which is that there, which can be like a blanket, very contextualized if you have a look. All these stretch marks and whispers and more stretch marks. Does it focus it in on properly? No, probably not. But there we go. And we have a bit of the cumulus. So yeah. So we'll see what happens for the rest of the day. I've got to go see my nan. I'll be back at 6, and sometimes they do the so-called spraying at that time, and I have noticed it in the evening, and then we can track and analyse what is going on, and hopefully see what these pesky trails are doing. Is it even off anything now? It's a condensation trail. Oh, well, I'll catch you in a bit, lovelies. The typical stretchy cirrus that resembles chemtrails, pretty much exact, really. This is that line you can see there. This is interesting because I like to see how different types of the day can affect different trails. If I tilt the camera up as we are coming to, hold on, the time period at the moment, it's just gone past 3:30. And remember I said in the evening, sometimes you get these persistent trails started to form. Now, we've just got one right there. And we've got another one just underneath the sun there. And the clouds are travelling that way, which is towards the ocean. Towards America, basically. That's basically what it is. So, as I'm going to go to my nan's in a minute, spend a couple of hours, she's cooking me roast dinner, I can't say any of that. So let's pop back in an hour's time, which I'll be at my nan's place, and I'll see what the situation is there with the skies, because there is a possibility that trails could start forming, because like I've been saying in the past few videos, these trails sometimes appear in the evening, whether or not it's to do with spraying, which makes no sense, or is it something to do with natural cloud cover. For instance, this white mass, which is obviously moisture in the atmosphere, hence how clouds are formed. So let's see, it's pretty pointless, right? Going to be honest with you, if you ever look at that trail, it's not going to do anything, innit? Typical example, I think it was part 8 or 9, I showed you that these trails disappear within a short period of time as well. And I'm pretty sure that one would resemble the ones the other day where it disappeared quite quickly. Anyway, pop back in an hour. It's just gone past 4 o'clock. And remember I said that the trails were more or less persist in the evening. Well, if I point the camera up into the sky, this is exactly what you're seeing. But there we go. A very typical example of how trails can persist in the evening. I don't know why. There must be something behind it, but it seems to be a very common occurrence. Now I'm in a different part of my area. I'm at my nan's place, so it's a bit difficult to see what it's like back at my area. So if I put the time right, might be able to find things out. But yeah, here we go. Scan the skies to the trails. What? Right, I am back. We are past 7 o'clock in the evening, and you saw the trails started to form just before around about 5 o'clock. And I thought, might be an indication it might end up like this, which is my previous video that I've done. And you won't believe what's happened now. You will not believe. It's actually clear sky. Look at this. Whee! Actually, no, I've got some cumulus, but it was clear a minute ago. So yeah, there we go. It's a mixed bag once again. You saw the trails, they disappear. Sometimes you see the trails and then they're very prominent and then nothing happens. Is it to do with weather? I think so. And is it to do with the spraying? I don't think so. My personal opinion on that. I'm talking about these trails, these faint trails that we've been seeing. Don't really do anything now, and I doubt it's there to poison us, because, if they want to poison us, there are plenty of other things in our food, water, you could say the air as well. One question I'd ask myself, if I did do a test on the rainwater to find out whether or not there are actually heavy metals, and I think that's quite important for me to do, at the same time, this is kind of a flawed experiment. Let me explain. You don't know, I don't know, anyone doesn't know where these chemicals, so-called chemicals, are coming from. Okay, I can do a test on the water, that's absolutely fine, but it's not telling me that's actually coming from the sky, is it? If you think they can contaminate the fuel for the engine of the aircraft, could they not do it for cars or any sort of vehicles that are more or less on the ground level? Do you know what I mean? I think they can contaminate the fuel in the planes. I think they can do it for the same for the cars and any vehicles, like I said, that's used on a daily basis. I'm just throwing it out there, really. So you got to put the two and two together. Well, it doesn't really make sense to say that there is high levels of barium, aluminium and strontium in the rainwater and then pointing up at the sky and going, oh no, it's coming from there. It's like, look, we don't really know until I go up there myself and do a test. Dane Wingington, I think I said his name right, he said he's done a test on the trails that are in the sky. Whether or not you take his information for what it's worth, I'm a bit sceptical with Dane Wingington. He's very good at talking, and the way he talks, the way he presents his material. He puts out videos every Sunday, which comes up on YouTube, which is called Geoengineering Watch. And I think his website is called geoengineeringwatch.com. There are a few things that made me go a bit wary through what Dane Wingington was saying, and this was one of them. So what you have here is a World War II footage from 1943 or 4, and this is a documentary stating that this was basically a documentary in regards of B-2 bombers flying from Dover in England into Germany. Obviously it was to bomb Germany during World War II, and there's a little extract in here where you can see the trails being formed, as you can see here, and it looks like chemtrails being sprayed. Now, Dane Wingington said this.
In regard to the condensation trail narrative, many refer back to the trails left by World War II bombers as proof that we are only seeing condensation trails in our skies. But geoengineeringwatch.org found on military archives film footage, which we posted, of World War II B-17s at altitude turning off a sprayed dispersion. We know that climate engineering was deployed immediately after World War II, so testing was absolutely ongoing. Clearly, these bombers were used for beta testing. Film footage proves it.
But the documentary, which is called The Memphis Belle, a Flying Fortress, says this.
Higher and higher into the lifeless stratosphere, until the exhaust of the engines mixing with the cold, thin air condenses and streams the heavens with vapor trails. To the men in the ships, they're far from beautiful, for they point like beckoning fingers to the formation, signposts in the sky for the enemy to spot us.
But Dane Wingington says this.
Geoengineeringwatch.org found on military archives film footage, which we posted, of World War II B-17s at altitude turning off a sprayed dispersion.
But the original documentary says this.
Until the exhaust of the engines mixing with the cold, thin air condenses and streams the heavens with vapor trails.
Does this make sense? No, it don't. Okay, so who am I supposed to believe here? I'm going to believe the original documentary, okay? I'm not, again, I keep saying this, I'm not a skeptic when it comes to chemtrails. I'm very skeptical of what people are filming and taking pictures of and then claiming that these are nefarious harbingers of doom, like these trails are there for weather manipulation. And I've proven again and again, and I know Mick West has done the same thing, is that these trials have been happening for a long period of time, even these flipping harp clouds and everything. So I hate to sound like a skeptic. No one's really doing the analysis. No one's really tracking what these trails are doing. They're just pointing a camera up in the sky and going, oh, that's a chemtrail, it's there to block out the sun, and it doesn't really block out the sun at all, really. When you spend a whole day outside, if you've got the time to do this, do the experiment for yourself. Have a look, see the trails in the morning and see what they do and tell me whether or not it actually blocks out the sun. And 9 times out of 10, 99.999%, it doesn't. It really don't. So the information that I'm coming across doesn't really make a lot of sense. Dane Wingington is a clear example of don't believe everything you hear on the internet. You know, he may be an expert. There are no experts when it comes to chemtrails or ufology, nothing like that, because no one knows what's going on. No one knows what's going on. And don't tell me that this is proof that pilots are coming forward. These pilots are literally taking the piss out of you, honestly. And these badges that you see and these switchboards that you see, it's total nonsense. I mean, this is classic Operation Mockingbird style. Don't be fooled. Coming up to 7:30. This is interesting. Have a look at this. It's really stretched out, isn't it? This portion of the veil, a white veil, I should say. Come on, focus, come on. And here is a photograph from one of my books of the same sort of structure of cloud. See, it's like it almost looks like his individual. One could say, oh, it's harp cloud. It's not. It's this. Okay, it's part of the cirrostratus, which is a really, really high altitude. And the reason why it's gone separate is because of this. Now, this is just what the book is saying. It's not what I'm saying. This is what the book is saying. And the reason why it's doing that is because of that. I have seen it in the book. This is why it's like bringing it up on the screen for you to see. So as we see so far, we have a flying object, which is obviously a plane. Derp. Can we see any trails? Any trails in the sky? Let's swing the camera around and have a look. Look, it's stretching out, mate. Once again, this white veil. Sheen, one would say, in that immediate area. Oh, look at that. That's quite striking, isn't it? I wonder if that will show up on the time lapse. Because this is it. This is it. Print. If we just take this haze here, or it might just be the sun sets that's giving off that effect. It's where this veil comes from, where this white sheen comes from, and whether or not we can actually track if there's any trails being persisted. For instance, like this. Look at that. There we go. Trails are persistent. Now, I could say through my research that the reason why that trail in that area you can see right there has persisted is because we have moisture in the atmosphere, and the mainstream media says there's moisture in the atmosphere. That's what actually creates the trails to persist. It seems to be pretty pointless, right, just to spray that right there in the evening. It ain't going to do anything. Do you know what I mean? Just saying, just saying. So there you go. This white veil is approaching. Let me just check the time lapse. And yes, it is. It is actually moving my direction. I can honestly say this is most likely stratus. Now, stratus is a bit like, it is like a white haze, but it's a bit lower because it's in the stratosphere instead of the cirrostratus, which is a lot higher than that, which normally creates the halo around the sun. So this white mass is moving up, definitely. And the time lapse is bang on that. So we can see whether or not it's actually to do with trails or is it something natural. So let's give it like 15 minutes and let's see what happens. As you just saw, that white haze was nothing chemtrail related. You couldn't see any, only very small faint trails, but again, ask yourself, probably moisture was a big part of that, to be honest with you. Again, it's not sprayed. It just makes no logical sense why they would just do one small trail in the sky. So you saw where this white mass came from, and now we got the what I would call altocumulus, which is a cloud a lot lower, and you will get that ripple effect. Here is altocumulus in the books from the 1940s, so you can see. Well, unfortunately I was out driving at the time, but you did see that white mass, and here it is on the time-lapse video. You can clearly see where it really came from, and it just eventually disappeared. But that trail is not going to block the sun because the sun is in there and that trail is there. You could say, well, someone up Scotland or up north can see this trail and eventually it will spread out and then block the sun. And like, what, that in 9 hours time? I doubt that very much. You know what I mean? Once again, we have the altocumulus. So in conclusion, on this 28th of May 2025, did a couple of trails, but no, of course it didn't. Of course it didn't. Just another example on how weather can change and how clouds can change and how English weather can be a pile of crap. Hence yesterday, which was like this. Raining crap. Let's do one more 360 pan of the sky. Mostly the cumulus, which is that there. And the sun is going down. We're back once again. And I think it's worth looking through the time lapse because that's going to give us an indication of what's been going on for the whole day. We are literally condensing 16 hours into about 15 minutes. And I have sped this one up, but I want to specifically look at the evening when we had those trails start to form and whether or not the trails start to form beforehand. So here's the beginning of the morning, and it's just this cumulus you can see. Because this is the morning, it's coming into lunchtime. That white, hazy, which I would call cirrocumulus on that one. And hopefully it might appear in the sky. I can actually show you some pictures of it. I'm up to around about 3 o'clock now. And the trails start to form just very, very slightly. that halo around the sun again, which is a sign of, or like I said, cirrocumulus. So there's a mixed bag with this one. You've got the cumulus with the cirrostratus as well. It's that white mass I want to pause before it comes ahead so we can really track on this. So in the mints, you can see there are some very small trails, but like I said, guys, it's not really going to do anything. In fact, they'll most likely disappear. There it is. See that separation I was talking about in the clouds right here? It says an illusion, apparently, according to the book. So the trails are starting to form. Again, that ripple effect. And eventually, you should see the white mass. It comes in stages. I did notice that on this one. I think it's coming up now, as you can see. After this, I believe. So you see, it comes in sections. I remember this trail, and if we go back, look at this trail. It actually dissipates. That one there, look, just dissipates within a short period of time. And you can see some white haze in the distance. I think, yeah, the camera moved because birds keep on going on it. But eventually you can see now, this is where I started to film that haze in the sky. And it should be coming up now. There it is. There it is, that big white blanket. And I just want to go through how many trails, because it's not that big or that consistent. If you have a look, you can see the shadow of the trail. Look, watch this. See that there? Which is that trail there. That's quite striking, actually. So yeah, it comes with this cirrostratus and eventually goes into the altocumulus, which is obviously the cloud a lot lower. So just ask yourself this question. Is this chemtrail related? Let's have a look. There's haze coming up now. You should see it forming. There it is. Anything chemtrail you can see. Just that trail there. And that's it. And eventually, nightfall comes into fruition. Isn't that nice? So in conclusion, obviously no trails, wasn't persisting that well. They're very, very small. Didn't block out the sun, nor dim it. But the whole purpose of this investigation is to track these trails and see what they actually do. I keep saying this, but I've only seen one portion of the sky. But when we have that white haze, I think that's when we've got to pay attention to and try to figure out both ends of the story here. So once again, I won't say it's another failed experiment, but this is how weather goes, guys. It always changes. So just remember this. Not every single trail in the sky is weather manipulation. Right, I'll see you on the next one. Take care.